Well, first and foremost, Jasmine, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I mean, initially, like we kind of connected over Instagram. I was looking at
hmm
some of your pictures from competing. How did you
Yeah.
how did you get into like bodybuilding?
Um, it kind of, I really don't know like how when I first saw it, but I started training in the gym like on my own about 2015, like dabbled here and there. And
Mhm.
then with my significant other now, like when we started dating, I started seeing like posts and everything of Ashley Kaltwasser, and I cannot remember what the other bikini pro's name was at the time, but Ashley was huge. She was just coming off of her third Olympia win. I'm like, man, that looks like something that I might want to get into. And he was telling me about the bikini division. I'm like, I could definitely see myself competing in this because originally I'm like, oh my gosh, the bikinis are so pretty. And the
Mhm.
girls, like, they have muscle, but they still have like a level of femininity with it. And I really like that. So I started training to get ready for the Knox Classic in 2017, but I was just too small. Like, I was a skinny little thing and it was not happening. So we just kept training, ended up hiring a coach, and I didn't do my first show until 2020. So I just trained for 3 years leading up to that show.
That's interesting. You mentioned
Yeah.
Ashley. I was just thinking to myself when you said that. I Can you name of another bikini pro that had like the success that she had? I mean, I can't think of
And I
anyone
can't even think of anyone
because
besides her at the time.
it's not the fact that she just won an Olympic. I think she holds the record for the most bikini
hmm
Olympias, which is pretty amazing because
Yeah.
three, Olympias, and then on top of that, she comes back and now she's like, she's not necessarily winning the Olympia, but she's
She's still
she,
placing good.
yeah, she's still
hmm
placing well. She's winning all these
Yeah.
pro shows. It's like
hmm
I don't know if you remember a little while back, people were complaining that she was competing
Oh
too much,
God.
that she was taking
Yeah, I
away
remember
like
that.
Olympia qualifiers from people.
Yeah, I
It's
remember.
wild.
Like, it's a sport. We're here to compete, still have fun, but
Mhm.
above all else, it's just you're doing it for you, really.
Yeah.
And if
What do
you
you
get,
think about that as far as like somebody who's already qualified for like the Olympia? It's
Mhm.
like should they like how do you think they should be allowed to just go and compete and win again and take like qualifiers technically away from others, or like where is your stance on that?
I would say still go for it. You don't see like
Mhm.
people complaining about like basketball stars still playing and then they continue to win. So why not? Her sponsors loved it. Anyone's sponsor, even if it's like the big guys, the bodybuilders. So if you're wanting to, like, say if they were to like, oh, you already qualified for the Olympia, maybe second place will get it. Well, where's the point in just like there's no competition there? People are
Mhm.
really just wanting to get to the Olympia, but really it's like you still got to do the work. You're gonna have to compete with their own stage there anyway. So just work your butt off to get there. If you want to
Right.
beat her, then just work harder. That's
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing because it's like
Mhm.
bodybuilding is not like any other like sport. So it's like the
Mhm.
rules are unique, and so
Yeah.
it's just seeing that was something that was like kind of a little odd because you wouldn't see it in other sports, like you said, like you wouldn't see
No.
it in
Mm-mm.
basketball, you wouldn't see it in other
Or
sports, like
football or anything like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
nobody would complain about somebody winning multiple times. They would be they would be sad that they couldn't beat them, but nobody would ever
Yeah.
say, "Oh, well, like they don't deserve it" or something like that, which
Yeah.
is it's kind of
If anything, that would drive me to work harder.
right,
That's
right,
just what it comes
exactly.
down to.
Exactly. So, yeah, I thought that I was pretty amazing on, on her part, and she was kind of like somebody that you looked at to, move you toward into this like
hmm
realm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely get that. So you're fairly like thin, I guess, pretty small to compete.
Yeah.
So
When I first started,
it took you
it
about
took me a
what,
while.
3 years? 3 years
Yes.
you said? Yeah. So
hmm
how did you put the like the muscle on? Like what like can you kind of give us like a little
Yeah.
summary of like routine, your eating habits? Like what did you have to change to make that happen?
Well, my eating habits were still like horrible, at least within the first year and a half. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing bikini. I can still eat whatever I want, like have a cheat meal here and there. But then me and my partner, we found myself a coach that's local here in Knoxville. And I just like we could see my potential in being able to be successful in the sport. So I followed the plan, just ate a lot more food than what I thought because even though I was snacking a lot, I was severely under eating, was not getting
Mm.
enough calories in. It was mainly just carbs and sugars, like fruit snacks, donuts, sushi every now and again. But really, like, my main thing was just getting the food in check because I was good with training. I've gotten a lot better over the years, but just remembering to push as hard as I can in the gym.
Mhm.
But the food was the biggest thing. Just had to eat a lot more and lift heavier weights.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing, right? Like everybody enjoys like training. Training is so much
Yeah,
fun.
training's
Everybody
always
has a good time.
fun.
Yeah, but it's the eating that's I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah,
love to train, but then it's like when I think about the fact that oh, I've got to eat to like
I gotta eat.
facilitate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
eat and
it
then
gets
making sure that you're getting enough rest too. So it's
yeah,
extremely important for your body just to be
yeah.
able to recover because you're going to break it down again when you start training the
Do you
following day.
have you had do you have issues with like sleeping or resting? Have you had
I used to, but I've gotten in my head, I'm like, okay, I know I need the rest to be able to go in and go at it for the next training session. So I've gotten a lot better with taking my rest days and just try to remember to enjoy the process versus, oh my
mm,
God, I got to do this. I don't want to disappoint anyone, but really it's just I've gotten a lot better with rest. Rest days are usually what I spend time on either doing stretching or I'll do like I have a yoga wheel now to work on my flexibility with posing or
mm.
working with posing clients. So rest days are it's still work, but I'm not in the gym like exhausting myself physically.
Yeah, so like you almost have like what people call now like active rest days, which
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Hmm.
like a newer, more or less newer term, but basically
Yeah.
where it's not like you're sitting on the couch doing nothing, but you're just not like pushing hard, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah,
Hmm.
that's cool. So you said you have some clients yourself. You do posing coaching?
Yes, I just started doing bikini and wellness posing, mainly bikini clients, because that's the main women that I'm getting in right now. And I enjoy being on stage. So it feels fulfilling to me to be able to give another woman that confidence when she gets on stage, throw some little
Mm,
sass here and there, a little swagger. So I like doing the posing. It's so much fun, especially for the newer competitors, because they'll start
mhm.
out, they're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And then they'll get their posing homework, come back, and they're like, oh my God, this is so great. I feel so good. I'm like, yeah, see, it's fun. There's fun parts to bodybuilding, and then you just learn how to present yourself at your best and just have fun. That's what I enjoy doing.
What would you say like the biggest problem to like people posing is that you've seen? I don't know if that question makes sense. Like
It
as you
makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, like what I notice at shows or anything when people are posing, like things that could
yeah, it
kind
can
of
be
set them back
improved
in
on.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
mainly like the crazy arm movements or just doing the most. And by doing the most, I mean like I know like my routine is a little it's not too much. It fits my personality. But
Mhm.
like the windshield wiper arms, like you don't have to do all of this
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you don't have to do all of that just
Right.
to show your physique. It's just you're distracting the judges from being able to focus on your physique at hand. So less
Mhm.
is more when it comes to posing when you're doing your routine. You only got like 10 to 15 seconds in that box. So just hit that front pose, transition, back
Mhm.
pose, hit it, transition again, hit it, and get out of there so the next girl can get on stage.
Yeah, and now that you're saying that, like I'm going back in my mind of when I'm like watching shows, and it
Hmm.
definitely there definitely are people that are like really flamboyant, like with the you know
Yeah.
what they're doing. So,
Hmm.
so I was gonna ask you something else. Now my mind is kind of like going bonkers.
Yo, you're good.
So like, who would you say? This is what I wanted to ask you. Like, from your opinion, like, if a girl wanted to like emulate somebody's posing, like, is there somebody that you're like, oh, they do a great job? Is there someone that stands out to you?
There's two women that stand out to me with
Mhm.
posing. One is Laura Lee Chapados. Her
Mhm.
posing is it's not too overly sexy, but it is still beautiful. And Daraja Hill,
Mhm.
absolutely love her posing. She's a shorter competitor, but I
Mhm.
like the amount of muscle that's stacked on her. She's very poised in her movements, and she doesn't like they don't miss.
Yeah.
So those
Yeah,
are two women that I really like.
I'm familiar with both of them. Yeah, I mean, I
Hmm.
definitely would have to agree. You said that you do some posing for wellness as well. How is
Hmm.
that? Is that similar? Are there big differences between the two? Do you find yourself like, having to adjust a lot between bikini and wellness?
Mainly the biggest adjustment for me with working with wellness competitors is like hitting those quarter turns because with bikini you just go front and back. Main thing with wellness is you're wanting to highlight those quads. So within the back pose, you want them to turn their feet out so they can see that quad sweep. Whereas in
Mhm.
bikini, you don't want to see that too much because it'll throw off your balance. So most bikini competitors, their feet are pointed forward when you're hitting that back pose. And
Mhm.
then in the front, main thing is you just want to sit back into that back hip and like almost flex your front quad. So it's the quads in the front pose, the quarter turns, and then hitting that back pose without bending too far because they don't want to see all up in your business, but they still want to see that quad development.
So that's interesting. How did you get like into wellness? Was it just somebody that I mean, bikini makes sense, right? Because you're competing in
Hmm.
bikini. But like,
Yeah.
did someone contact you, or did you already tell yourself like, oh, I want to do wellness as well?
Yeah. I was contacted by someone who was
Hmm.
referred to me by my previous posing coach.
Hmm.
So, but she was supposed to start competing in bikini, but like just looking at her physique, her coach told her, well, you might go ahead and do wellness. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and see if I can do the wellness poses myself. So then I
Hmm.
can teach you and just watched over video from the Olympia, from seeing Francielle, and then one of my friends, Alexis, just looking at her wellness posing has helped a lot.
And who's if you want to give a plug, who's your friend you said that's in wellness?
My friend Alexa, she actually just earned her pro card at Junior National. She won the wellness overall.
Oh,
Alexis
awesome.
Adams. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. Alexis. Yeah, I had
Uh-huh.
her on the show before actually. She's
Yep.
yeah, she's a nurse as well, right? I think
Yep.
also,
She's a
but
travel nurse.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember Alexis. Yeah, we had a great episode together for sure. So what did you think about like wellness when you first heard that it was going to make its appearance in the
Yeah.
IFBB? And the reason I asked that, and you get a variety of answers, but
Yeah.
I've never like seen something that was so like divisive as far as like listening to podcasts and things of that
Hmm.
nature of a new division, because it seemed like some people were like really for it, other people like were completely against it.
Yeah.
Like, what did you think about them introducing that?
I was actually really excited because there are a lot of bikini competitors who like their legs, they can't seem to get their legs down. Upper body is always it's good in condition, but lower body they struggle to bring them down to fit the bikini criteria.
Mhm.
And I didn't really start seeing wellness until maybe a few months before they introduced it in the US. So I would
Mhm.
see basically like the Ashley Kaltwasser of wellness in her country was Angela Borg
Mhm.
Borges
Right.
Borges.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Burgos or something like that. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
know
And
who you're
then
talking
just
about.
seeing her body, like people thought it was okay, it's just bikini girls who aren't conditioned enough. I was like, no, have you like not seen the wellness girls that are over in Brazil? And
Mhm.
it's like it's insane the amount of density that they have in their legs. And then there are some that still are like, okay, well, maybe it's just like women's physique or like figure girls. I'm like, no, there's
Mhm.
like the amount of muscle they have in their lower body and in their glutes, even though it's imbalanced, like it's just beautiful. Like I love watching the wellness girls go on stage.
Yeah, I agreed. I thought so I had Robert Phillips, who was a coach, wellness coach, real popular
Mhm.
wellness coach, and also he works with Angela's team as well, and several others. And before the first Olympia, a lot just from the way he was speaking, and as I was talking to other people as well, everyone seemed to be convinced that Angela was gonna be the Olympian champ.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like a foregone conclusion. And to me, and this sounds kind of silly, but like always thought Fran like had the physique for like to be the champ, like
Hmm.
but that wasn't the narrative. And then, so what did you think of Fran winning the Olympia? Like, did you think it was a good decision, bad decision, like, or somewhere in the middle?
I feel like it was a good decision because she still had that pop and muscle without having any striations. And then even when she walked, you didn't see them. Some of with like Angela was, I'm not sure what the scorecard said, but I would bet it was pretty close. During
Hmm.
certain movements that she would have and in her transitions, you can see those striations in her glutes. But that's really not the look that the judges were wanting to go for with
Right.
wellness. But I think just Francine's, just from top to bottom, it's just her physique. She had it that day, and I'm not
Hmm.
sure like what she's going to be looking like now going into the Olympia, but I think she might be able to go ahead and repeat it. It just depends on what other wellness phenoms come up out of over, because wellness just got introduced at the Olympia last year, so a lot can change in a year, but
Right.
just it just seems like I think Francine could get it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, I think so, and honestly, I hope so because I feel like she has a good standard that
Yeah,
people
she sets a
can.
great standard for women who are wanting to get into wellness.
Absolutely, because sometimes what happens is with these divisions that are kind of like in the middle, what happens is you'll get like some women who are, in this case it's women who are bodybuilders, and they'll try to come down and they'll have like bodybuilder legs, like when they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
bring their, they're coming down from the upper divisions. And then you'll have like bikini girls who, like you mentioned, are going up. So you get these like kind of like weird scenarios where you have some wellness girls that almost have like bodybuilder legs, and then
Mm-hmm.
other girls like Fran who are like more complete. And I think like we really want to be careful to not push this division into like a just like bodybuilder leg division. Like that's
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want it to like go down that route because
No.
it's just not a like I don't see it lasting, well if that happens. So,
Yeah. And
and
I
it's a
think that's
go ahead.
mainly why judges choose who they want to fit closest to the criteria because they want to avoid that happening. But when
Hmm.
you get to like the local level, not even local level, but like national level shows, like the athletes will continue to push it and
Hmm.
coming in as lean as possible, but that's not really what they want.
Hmm.
You still
Yeah.
need that fullness there too.
Yeah. Is that kind of like what you see on like as you said, like on a national level or like a local level, you get like people that are
Mhm.
just kind of not really understanding the criteria as opposed to the ones in the
Yeah.
pros.
Mainly with the local level, like girls will go into wellness thinking that they are wellness and you're not. It's like either you're wellness or bikini. You can definitely tell the difference, especially in the leg size, when they step up to a girl who actually does fit the
Hmm.
criteria for being in wellness. But
Yeah.
whenever you get to the like the next level up, it's like this for bikini too. Like the girls will come in extremely lean, but then it seems like there might be a little bit of confusion, like when the judges are choosing who the top five are, and the girls who are like peeled, like
Hmm.
almost peeled to the bone. You can like see their muscles when they're walking. They're not understanding like why they're not winning these shows. But then when you go back and actually read the criteria, because the criteria is always available on NPC News Online, but no one seems to really understand what it is. And then when they get to the pro level, it's like, yeah, those women do have like a lot of muscle density, but they're not like lean
Yeah.
as what they're wanting it to be.
Yeah, it's so bikini is very interesting division too for like slightly different reason than wellness, because well wellness also is very very new, but
Yeah.
bikini's been around for a while and they seem to change champions a lot. So like you
Oh yeah.
said, that we said like Ashley, three times, and she has considered, had the most, defenses or whatever you want to call them, wins. And so I guess my question would be like what do you think contributes to that switch all the time? Is it just judges like deciding they want to go with a different look? Is it just people getting better and just everyone being so close?
Yeah, I think it's just collectively the sport's just evolving, especially from when she was winning back to back. She does stick with it in making sure that she's always changing to place in that top five at the Olympia. And she's gotten like really close to winning, especially in the last few years. But the main thing is, I think like as the criteria, it doesn't really change. They might tweak a little bit of things, but the judges know exactly like what they're wanting. I don't think they decide to choose like a new champ every year. It just depends on how that athlete looks when it comes to the show day. Did
Hmm.
they peak? Did they peak properly? Was something off with their posing that day? So where
Hmm.
like some girls might not look as tight in their midsection. Just depends on how your hip is turned. Like it could
Hmm.
be anything from like your hair, makeup, your tan. But I think our winner this year is definitely going to change. I don't think it's going to be the same champion that we had last year.
Remind me,
Yeah.
who won last year?
Our current Miss Bikini Olympia is Jennifer Dory.
Dory. That's right. That's right. I
Mm-hmm.
remember now. Yeah,
Yep.
and I remember what she looks like now. Yeah, yeah. Why do you? So, what do you say that? Why do you think the champ will change this year?
I think the champ will change because Laura Lee has had an amazing year so far.
Hmm.
Her physique, I think she's definitely brought her glutes like down a little bit because they were pretty full, but she's absolutely beautiful. That helps too. But then her muscle, it's like she's hard, but she's not like too hard. Has
Hmm.
nice round glutes from the top all the way around. Tie-ins are cut in there, but not too deep. And then she has that little bit of a bubble in her quads too. So you can
Hmm.
still see it without seeing like it's not too carved out to where it could be figure or wellness, but her balance is beautiful on
Hmm.
Laura Lee. So I think she might walk away as the champion. Like in my mind, it's her, Issa I cannot pronounce her last
Like, isn't that
name.
like Pizzini or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Issa, Ashley, Jen, and then Maureen,
yeah,
who I
yeah,
have in the top five.
yeah. Maureen. You know, obviously you have your favorites, right? So it's
Hmm.
like Maureen is one of my favorites. Of course, I would love to see, her do really well. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's one that I kind of been keeping an eye on. But yeah, it's interesting. How much does momentum play into like going into the Olympia, you think?
I think it helps a lot with the athletes, like their
Mm.
confidence going into the show. Because even if they're winning back to back shows, they're still putting into consideration the feedback the judges are giving to them as they're going on to move forward. Because whenever you get that judges' feedback, they're only giving you it to help you progress further on into the sport and help you be a better athlete. So I
Yeah.
think momentum plays a huge key. I know, like for some girls, like once they get the Olympia qualification, they'll go ahead and go into their off season before the Olympia starts. But with bikini, it is possible to do back to back peaks because we don't have to get as lean or have to be as big as like the
Hmm.
other divisions. So it makes it a little bit easier
Right.
without having, as long as your body is healthy and you're able to, I would just keep going and getting feedback.
Yeah, I also feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you would know better than I would, but that you can make small changes in between shows of bikini, right? Like
Hmm.
there's
Yeah,
like
you
if
can.
something is wrong, you can address it like almost within a week or two, as opposed
Yeah.
to like some other division where, if they have something that's wrong, it might, it's not gonna they're not gonna change it in a week. It's just too
Yeah.
much too much muscle, too much mass to be changed in a
Yeah.
short time. So.
Anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks is good, especially like if they say, okay, well, we want you to come in a little bit fuller. Fuller
Mhm.
could mean anything from not fuller as in you need to go into off season and put on more muscle, but maybe just change the way that you peaked going into the show, or maybe you need to fill out a little bit more before you go on stage.
Mhm.
Or like for my feedback, it was just to bring in fuller shoulders.
Mhm.
That could just be helped by coming in a tad bit leaner and then filling out right before it's time to go on.
Right.
So you can always make little tweaks to the diet to be able
Sh-
to help you go to the next one.
Sure. So on that point, what does your peaking look like? Like what does peaking for bikini competitors yourself look like for a
Yeah.
show?
like for me, my peaking is we'll start water loading at the beginning of the week. So it's like 2 gallons of water. And then as the week goes on, slowly taper back. And then like the day before the show, I'm like down to like a liter, I think, of water to
Hmm.
drink. And then some athletes, they're still like on a gallon to 2 gallons. Because when
Mm,
show day comes, you don't get, you're getting sips and maybe some coffee. Calories start a little bit high and then they'll start to taper
yeah.
back as the week goes on. And he might bring me back up just depending on how I'm looking. During that
Mhm.
point, I'm checking in every day, sending pictures in the morning, before I train, after I train, and then
Mhm.
just doing it all over again.
How dehydrated, like, so other divisions they get, you can get very dehydrated in some of these.
Hmm.
How dehydrated does bikini usually get? Comparable with the rest or not as much,
I
you
don't
think?
I don't think it's as drastic as some
Mhm.
athletes, like they might dive into like using diuretics to
Mhm.
come in like leaner, not leaner, but to dry themselves out.
Right.
But I think it just might depend on your body. Bikini, I don't think you need to dry out like nearly as much. Like if you're ready at the beginning of the peak week, then you're ready. If you're not, and you're having to go to those extremes to dry out that much, maybe consider doing a different show instead because you don't want to end up hurting yourself.
Right. And also, like, I was thinking to myself, and I thought this about seeing someone tried to get ultra dry, but they were actually just had more body fat on them than they should have for the show.
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's almost like sometimes athletes try to compensate for not being in shape by getting drier, and it gives them like a false sense of leanness when it's
Yeah.
really you're not really lean, you're just dehydrated,
Yeah.
so.
It's like a security blanket that's not
Mhm.
really doing anything for you.
Yeah. And I mean, it's happened to me like outside of showtime. Like sometimes I'll
Hmm.
I'll wake up and I'll look, oh man, I look really lean. Well, I mean, most likely I haven't lost any body fat from like yesterday.
Yeah.
I just got like dehydrated overnight, and so
Hmm.
that can kind of sometimes play with your mind too. So for sure.
Yep. And that's also where rest comes in hand, just making sure your body's getting enough rest when you're going into peak week too, because you want to keep inflammation and stress as low as possible.
Yeah.
Because if that cortisol spikes up, it's like, ooh, honey, no, it's not going to be working in your favor.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned risk, and I know you mentioned more like risk into your physique, like how you look. Um, lately it's just been so many competitors have been like passing away. Most of the ones that
Hmm.
I've seen were male bodybuilders. A lot of them were, heart issues, that kind of thing. A couple of years ago we saw some that like had some issues from dehydration and things like that.
Hmm.
Like, how much does that play into your mindset? Do you like do you even think about things like that, or you think, well, I'm, like the way I'm doing it is healthy and good, and I don't have to be
Yeah.
concerned with that. So.
Um, I used to be, but not really anymore because my coach understands my body. And
Mhm.
just as long as you're making sure that you're eating all your food, getting enough water, and then also sodium, like if you don't have any sodium in your body and you're taking those harsh diuretics, like not only will you like cramp really bad, but you can end up passing out. And if you pass out at a show, you're disqualified. So like you
Yeah.
can't even compete. So it's just I think it's safer to just not use those diuretics and just making sure that you're dieting as hard as you can earlier on in your prep and trying to play catch up at the last minute.
Yeah. I assume it's pretty easy for you to lean out, since we talked earlier about
Hmm.
you just being a naturally like lean person. Whenever
Yeah.
it comes time to cut, you don't have too much problem with that.
No, I don't have problem with my upper body. It's just these legs. Like as a woman, it's hard to get them as lean as possible. But like building more muscle from my previous off season definitely helps so that we don't have to come down as hard and
Mhm.
like basically cardio me to death. Do not like doing that. But sometimes you have to. But in this case, we didn't have to do that. So just my main thing is just keeping my legs as tight as possible because I don't have an issue with my upper body or anything. It's just the legs.
Mhm.
That is the only thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like everyone has like a body part that just doesn't want to cooperate, It's like
Yeah,
no
the
matter
stubborn
what.
area.
So what kind of like feedback do you generally get from the judges? Just having to deal with size, like, or you're at
Hmm.
this point, you're in a perfect size.
My first show, it was just to build all around. I was little. I was a teensy weensy little thing.
Hmm.
My feedback when I did North Americans was just to come in tighter. I did the Kentucky Muscle last year. I didn't get my feedback from that show after I sent the email, but just looking at my pictures compared to the woman who won the overall, I was able to see like what we needed to do. So we just
Hmm.
still needed to come in tighter, bringing a little bit more fullness to my shoulders and roundness to my glutes. This past show from Junior Nats, Sandy just said, bring your shoulders in a little bit fuller, work on some of your posing angles, just because it looked like I was bent over too far. And I had asked her, I was like, well, what about my legs? I need to bring my legs in a little bit tighter. She said, no, your shape is great. Just bring your shoulders in fuller and work on your posing. So I'm like, sweet. We'll still bring my legs in just a little bit tighter, just so that I can see some of the my tie-in the back a little bit
Hmm.
better. But yes, shoulders and just a teeny bit tighter, but not like shreddy in my legs.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what's the I guess, do you have plans for next year, or I don't know, are you planning to
Yeah.
compete at all this year still, or
Oh yeah, we are still
okay.
competing this year. So the main show that we're focusing on next is nationals in December, going for the pro card this time. Last time I just wanted to get first call outs because getting like second to last call outs at my first national show, it was like
Hmm.
heartbreaking. Even though I had a feeling like I might have ended up in there the first one, but this one I was like, no, I'm ready for this. I'm excited. Prep was hard, but most people's preps are hard, and it's just
Yeah.
mainly persevering over a few things. So we got first call outs, next national show, going for the pro card. We just got to get top two. And then I talked
Hmm.
to my coach about possibly doing a show in October because I've always been like top three overall, and I really want to get an overall win
Yeah.
before I potentially turn pro. So it's looking like 18 weeks and a day out,
Hmm.
and I think 12 weeks and a day out, something like that, 12 or
Hmm.
13. So yeah. And then also if we did the show in October, that puts me in front of Tyler, who is one of the head judges at nationals, just to get some
Hmm.
additional feedback if we decided to do it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
1 to 2 more.
Interesting. If firing on all cylinders, even to the end of the year, huh?
Hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
so I mean, I guess that totally makes sense because, like, especially when you're talking about winning an overall and stuff before you can turn pro and all things like that, it's like you want to make sure. I was talking to someone else about this, that you don't want to just turn pro, you want to turn pro and hit the ground running. So you want to be like a
Hmm.
good pro, because a lot of
Yeah.
times what happens is people will turn pro and then it takes them a
Just
long time
disappear.
before,
Yeah.
yeah, before they even
Hmm.
compete, if they even
If they
compete,
ever do.
so
Yeah.
for sure, I completely get it. Well,
Hmm.
Jasmine, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Yay.
If somebody wanted to like do more podcasts with you or
Mhm.
contact you for coaching, like what would be the best way for them to do that?
I do everything through Instagram. My phone's always in my hand. So my Instagram is at Jas underscore Dane, like a Great Dane. Some people think it's my last name, but it's not. But yeah, but my Instagram is where anyone can reach me. And then I'm
Mhm.
pretty responsive, so they can reach
Awesome,
me there.
awesome. And I'll go ahead and link everything at the bottom, guys, so it'll be easy for you to contact
Yay.
Jasmine. So, all right, Jasmine. Well, thank you so much again. You take care. Have a great rest of the day. Of
Thank you for having me. You
course.
too.
Bye bye.
Bye.